How in the world do you memorize 3 pages in just a few minutes or at all? I'm gonna tell you, but first, it is story time with Coach K. So when I first started playing drums, I was in 9th grade. I joined drumline at my high school. My first drum coach, his name was Mike. Mike was a professional rock drummer. And as a rock drum set player, Mike didn't have to read or write or play music, like written sheet music like this, like ever. He would sing our parts to us. He'd be like, dun digga 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 da, and then we'd have to play it. And beyond that, we'd have to memorize it. Mike wouldn't remember it the next day because he'd be like, oh no, I had like the inspiration came down and I sang it to you and you learned the parts. Now I'm on to the next inspired part. So we had to memorize it. Now what would happen between my teammates and I is we'd go home and we'd practice it because the more you repeat something, the better you memorize it. But we'd all memorize just a little bit differently sometimes. So what I had to do was create a system to write it down. Now I couldn't read music very well yet, and I didn't have to because my coach was singing everything to me. So I had to find a way to write it down. Now on my first day of drumline, and I was really overwhelmed and I didn't know how to play, I didn't know how to hold sticks, I didn't know anything. If you've ever heard my story, I actually went to my first day of drumline not intending to play drums. I went to that rehearsal with a saxophone in my hands. That's a fun story for another time. So my first day, I'm all overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing. And my coach is like, wow, you need help. And he sent me aside. He didn't say it like that. He was very kind, but I know that's what he was thinking. He sent me aside with a teammate and he said, Andrew, who was a year older than me, can you help her? And so Andrew made up these words and he was saying like dot, diddle, dot, like trying to tell me what to do with my hands. And it totally worked. So now, you know that I teach a lot of my rhythms with words, and that's a big reason why, because it worked so well for me as a beginner, an older beginner. I didn't start drumming till I was like 14. So Andrew takes me aside, he's teaching me dot, diddle, dot, and I was starting to memorize it, but then we had so much music to memorize that Mike was singing to us. I had to write it down, but I couldn't have pages and pages and pages of written down music. Also couldn't actually read or write music yet. So I used words and shapes and stuff. I figured out a way to write it so that when we'd come back to rehearsal, if we all memorize different parts, we can kind of come back and be like, oh wait, no, this is what it was, and we could play the music. Now I eventually learned how to read music, and what I did was, because I accidentally developed this amazing skill to memorize music, I combined that with reading and writing music, and whoa, came up with a super easy system that I promise you will be able to memorize all 3 pages of Hey in just minutes. So I'm going to show you that today, and it's going to be super exciting. Before we dive into that, you're welcome. Here are a few glorious moments of that freshman year with my terrible haircut. Dun digga 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 da. Now to the fun stuff. I've got some scratch paper here from a book that I wrote a long time ago that I'm revamping for a 2021 edition. And I believe in scratch paper. I hope you use scratch paper too, because if you ever look at the paper trail, literally paper trail, I know, I'm punny. We really shouldn't be throwing this stuff away. We should be reusing it. So I'm going to do that today. So let's take a look at our music, make sure that you have yours out too, and I'd love for you to follow along and literally write it with me. I'm going to let you cheat, copy me, in fact, but what's important is that you yourself write it with your hand. It will help you memorize it. We've got boom, got, boom, boom, got. See, I'm singing like Mike. That's funny.